I feel like so many people get caught up in kind of chasing after like, I don't know, it's like I need to be playing this number of shows and like the best festivals, and it's super important. But for me, it's like I had a talk with my agent at the beginning of the year. It's like I love touring, but it's like, hey, if I have 4 weekends off, and I need like a weekend off and like to go back home and reset. And from like every perspective, to like spend time with my girlfriend, like see my family, like my grandparents are getting older. It's super important to like see my grandparents, like, and not just like tour the next 5 years, and like when they're so old they can't do anything, not be able, then I spend time with them.
Yeah, so you've been doing the 75-day hard. What does that consist of?
I'm not doing as good of a job as my girlfriend. I think I've technically already broke the rules a bit, but it's for 75 days. You're doing supposed to choose a diet and stick to it, whatever you want the diet to be. I'm doing just like no processed carbs, like kind of keep it cleaner. Yeah, kind of keto-ish, but like I'll have a bit of rice or something, or if I need to, because I don't want to like faint. No. It's hard when you're on tour. Like if you're on the road and like you go to some of these states down south, and it's like there's not many options that are healthy. I don't know. That's rule number one.
There's also the change in the hours, right? Like when you're eating or when you're performing and when you actually have time, it's hard to keep a set schedule.
Yeah, and a promoter takes you out to dinner beforehand, and it's like an amazing Italian restaurant. And you're like, I don't know what I'm gonna eat. So you're supposed to stick to a diet. I think I don't know if it's an official rule, but we're drinking 4 liters of water a day, reading 10 pages of a nonfiction book every night, working out twice a day, and that's what I've been slacking on. It's hard.
Twice a day?
Yeah, it's supposed to be 2 45-minute workouts. It's hard that's the hardest part on the road. It's like I'm barely like not in the air. It's hard to get 90 minutes of my day to work out. I think the last one's like take a progress picture before and after, but that's like more like just to make sure like see where you go over the time. But yeah, for me it's like just, and no alcohol, sorry. So yeah, just trying to be healthy for to kick off the year. And she just started back up at George Brown doing interior design up there. So I think she wanted somebody to keep it regimented, and I'm along for the ride. She's like, I'm doing this, you're doing it too, which is good. Have someone keep you honest, you know.
So were you the no alcohol thing? So how many days into this are you right now?
Like 8 or something. I think I'm hitting the first lull. Like we were walking in the studio, like, how are you? It's like I think my body needs a carb. No, it's good. I'm enjoying it. It's good to like stick to something to kick off the year.
How do you feel any different in terms of like physical shape? Like, are you sleeping better?
Maybe. I don't know. I try to work out quite a bit. I think it's like, for me, it's just nice to stay focused. Like I don't love like drinking, which is weird for the industry I'm in, but I don't know. I feel like taking time away from like drinking keeps you like really motivated, keeps you like kind of keep your head down, driving towards your goal.
Dry January has become a thing recently, where a lot of people are like, all right, you know what, the holidays are over, I'm gonna basically cut out alcohol. And you're also starting to see a lot of brands move towards like zero alcohol, same flavor and stuff, but just zero alcohol for the purposes of, you know, like there's a lot of people that just are like cutting it out altogether.
Yeah, I think it's good. Like, it's good to be healthy, and I don't know. I feel like when you're like younger, it's fun to party and have alcohol. But as you get older, it's like I'm so busy. It's like hard to. I don't want to wake up hungover and like feel sluggish the next day. The one thing I don't get is non-alcoholic beer. Like, I don't love the taste of beer. It's like if I'm gonna be drinking something non-alcoholic, I'd rather it be like something
like
tasty,
a mocktail or something.
A mocktail, like a mojito or something nice and flavorful, not a beer.
Yeah, I've never been a beer guy either. It's just never been something I've enjoyed, and it's also really heavy on the carbs.
Yeah, and you feel like bloated and stuff. I don't know. Yeah. Non-alcoholic beer is not for me.
So how long have you been a DJ now?
I think
like what's the backstory here?
I think officially it's been, I don't know, it all blurred together after the pandemic, but I think officially it's been like 7 or 8 years maybe since I started like taking it seriously. When I was younger, like went to an art school growing up, had to do music lessons, and I hated it because I think when you're a kid you don't want to do what you're being told to do. Like played trombone, never thought anything would come of it. Then I went to Laurier for university. Started doing my business degree. I played like rugby all through high school and stuff, and joined the rugby team. And our team was not that good, but it was fun to be like friends with all the guys. And I'm like, oh, I kind of like this DJ stuff. Like I had a couple of friends who were getting into it, so I started like kind of DJing house parties. And like I was way more fun than getting beat up every weekend playing rugby. So I'm like, I'm just gonna keep doing this and start DJing more house parties all around Waterloo. I became friends with some like the guys who were throwing the parties and programming out the events of the bars. So started opening up for bigger acts, taking it more seriously. and decided to get into music production. Yeah, it was like a lot of fun. And then like ended up teaching myself music again through like YouTube and stuff.
So self-taught.
Yeah, kind of. Like I've had like good mentors along the way, but
yeah,
I never like went to any formal training. Like it's funny because like I can play piano now to like be in a songwriting session and like people like, hey, we're writing in this key, like this is the chord progression, let's go, and I can jump in and write melodies. But if someone's like at a party and like there's a piano, it's like plays a song on the piano, it's like I don't know, I don't know any songs. Like people, it's like if like you tell me to write in a key, I can do it. I can just like mess around, or if I hear a song,
I can create,
start playing along. But it's like off the top of my head, someone's like play a song, I'm like I don't know.
That's where it ends.
Yeah.
Okay, so when I was part of what we try to do at the Gents Talk pod here is really dig into who the person behind the persona is. And when I looked you up to see, you know, what is out there on Frank Walker, which is a very common name, by the way.
I know. There's like 25 of us on Wikipedia, and I wasn't even one of them for the longest time.
Well, once you're on Wikipedia, you know you made it.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I came across was that you are part of a dynasty family in the business world.
Yes.
And you chose to forego that for a shot at basically making something of yourself in the music industry.
Yeah.
What's the story there?
So growing up, like I said, going back, my grandfather started an automotive company called Magna International.
Mm-hmm.
My mom and dad met while working at the company and had me. So growing up, I thought I'd be like working in automotive plants and learning that side of the business. So like, I don't know, from like age 6, I was being brought out of like school and like board meeting days and like going to like get exposed to the business. Like even through high school, I did like the technical training side. Like I learned how to like, not probably a lot of people don't know this. Like I like used to be like probably not good anymore, but can like lathe, mill, weld, like use like,
really?
CNC machines. I definitely couldn't anymore if you like put me in front of one. But did like the whole technical training side and like all like the electrical sides. Like I thought I was gonna be like working in like an automotive plant as a manager and then working my way up to the company side. Then like as I was graduating high school, my family decided to like, oh, we're gonna like sell off our part of the business. So I'm like, oh, like I'm not like tied down here anymore. I went to business school. And that's when like circling back to like kind of started DJing for fun. Never thought anything would come of it while I was finishing my degree. And my mom's like, oh, you're really enjoying it. Like you're getting busier. Like give it a shot and see where it goes. I don't think they thought it would like really go where it's gone, but being supportive parents, like, yeah, give it a try for a year. And then it started to like morph into its own thing. Kind of like became an actual like business on its own end. Like I was able to put that business degree to use, like see like kind of like there's like so much marketing and even like on like putting together like campaigns for releasing a track, you like get involved with the finance side and looking at those numbers. So yeah, I think like my parents saw it's actually a business, not just like me DJing and
for fun,
partying every weekend. And it is like definitely a fun industry to be in, but yeah, I think they saw what it actually is and they supported it, not just as like a do you. It's more like it's like, well, you're actually like taking it really seriously and doing your own thing. And for me, that was important. Like if my family like needed me to come work at a family company, I would do it. But for me to do something on my own that's kind of disconnected from them and is my own thing was super important to me.
I gotta know, would you have stayed the course and gone the route of the business, like working for the family business, if that was still the route? Or were you always in the back of your mind, like, if the opportunity presents itself, I'm going the other way?
I don't know. I don't think I ever consciously had that like decision in my head chosen. Like I liked working, like I don't know, I talked about how I did the technical training stuff. Like I like working with like building things and designing things. And like a young age, I was always like making things with Lego and like, I don't know. I think it's the fact that my dad's an engineer and I think he kind of like subconsciously instilled that for me at a young age. And I don't know, being around like those factory settings and stuff as a kid, like it always felt cool. It was like a day off from school. I got to go and like do these things. So I think I would have enjoyed it if I had stayed in it. But also because the opportunity presented itself, I feel like I like to do my own kind of, it's not really entrepreneurial what I'm doing. It is in a sense, but like
it's definitely entrepreneurial.
Build my own thing. And
I mean, you're managing your career ultimately, right? Like there's people that rely on you.
Yeah.
Like as long as you make music, there are people that are employed.
Yeah.
It's pretty entrepreneurial.
Yeah. And I think like in this past year, I've taken like more of a step back and you get so caught up in touring. It's like, hey, like now, like what does the Frank Walker brand stand for? And in the past, I'm like, oh, it's just me. But like now I'm like putting like proper thought behind it. But like, oh, like what is like my, I don't know, like what do I want
ethos,
my brand to be? And like, how does that like layer into like, not just like my logo, but the whole visual imagery and like the colors we use and how does that translate to live visuals? And like, what do those kind of convey to people watching my sets, and like we're trying to like take a more holistic approach, and this is always something I wanted to do, but now I'm working on my first album, so it's kind of like, hey, I need to take this step back, and like I want to put that thought in before it comes out, and not just like slap an album together and then like, oh, here's a collection of songs I like. It's like this is what they all mean and how they kind of stick together, and I don't know what Frank Walker is beyond just like me as a person out there as a brand. So
what does the Frank Walker brand stand for?
As I'm like maturing as like an artist, I guess it's like for like the longest time I've tried to, it's like, I don't know, you'd see trends pop up in the dance industry, and as a producer I'm like, oh, like that sounds really cool, I want to make that, and kind of like jump on it, and like hopefully it gets really good charting position or good like playlisting or gets on radio. And as like I've started working on, probably over a year and a half ago now, like started like pulling together the idea of like wanting to do an album. I'm like, hey, like what really got me into like this industry in the first place? And it was kind of when I was at Laurier. Like you had like Avicii, like Alesso, Swedish House Mafia, all these like amazing producers kind of just exploding. And I was lucky enough that like my buddies who were booking shows out there booked these amazing artists to come through before they were big, and that really inspired me. So from a production perspective, I'm like, hey, like these are like the style of tracks that I love the most. Like I want to kind of go back to my roots, and that stuff like thankfully works really well for like festivals, and it's high energy and happy, and that's what I kind of like to make. And on top of that, I kind of pulled together like my 25-ish like favorite tracks of all time. I forget exactly what's in there, but like I just made a playlist on Spotify. I'm like, hey, like there's a lot of Coldplay, and it kind of looked like all the lyrics and like they all had a similar feel. Like I like a good like nostalgic, like almost like melancholy lyric where it's like there's like some meat to like the lyrics. Like nothing against like pop tracks, but sometimes it feels like very disposable, and like you put a song out and it's like, okay, it's cool and catchy, but then like it kind of like runs its course after a couple years. But like I really love stuff that's like kind of ballady and has like a lot of emotion to it, and I don't know, I feel like more people can connect with that and like become attached to tracks. Like the first time someone ever messaged me saying like, oh, like your track like helped me get through a hard time, that was like such a cool feeling to have that message come through. I don't know. So,
how did you feel when you saw something like that? I imagine that's essentially validation that what you're doing is impacting someone.
Yeah, for sure. And like for me, like it's cool to impact people, but also like I put the songs out that like I love lyrically, so it's like the fact that other people are kind of like-minded and liking the things I'm making and like as well. It's cool to like kind of start to slowly like build a community of people who are fans of like more like the ethos and like the emotion behind something, not just like, oh, like you made a banger and like me and my friends got drunk to it. It's like, sure, that's cool, but like for me it's like, I don't know, I want to make something that stands the test of time. Like I've said it before, if I can show something to like my grandma and she's like, oh, that's like a great song, like not that I'm trying to make stuff for that audience, but like it means it kind of transcends just like, oh, you made like a really good kick drum and bass and like it sounds technically good. So more about like the songwriting process.
How do you when you've got all these thoughts floating around in your head as you're creating, how do you sort of just block out that noise and sort of focus in?
It's hard to do, like especially in this day and age when like everyone's on their phone, and I don't know, so my friends like, you're horrible at texting. It's like because I have to put my phone down. Like if I'm responding like to an email or a text every time it comes through, it kind of breaks your train of like creative thought, and it's hard to do, and like having to stay on top of social media and all those other things. So, like I try to like disconnect myself as much as possible, as hard as that is. A lot of it's like I'll have a thought when I'm like not at my desk, and I'll just have a bunch of like awkward voice notes on my phone, like this is the lyric, then you sing this bit, and like it probably sounds like gibberish to anyone else. But yeah, it's like just finding, like I think I always start with the song first, like whether it be me in a room writing with a songwriter and like coming up with the lyrics, or just finding like demos. Like it's pretty common in the industry for someone to have like, hey, here's like, it's a songwriter, it's like, hey, I have like these piano chords and a really like loosely, lightly done vocal without all the backing harmonies and stuff. And it's like, hey, do you want to produce this out? Then we'll go and find like a proper singer to come and like cut all those other parts and like tweak the lyrics as they see to make it personal. But for me, it's like always that first step of like, I love that initial song and like there's some sort of emotional connection to the lyrics at like that base level before the production even kind of takes root.
How much of your songs are you? Like, how much of it is you're creating something for your fans and for others to consume that you're manufacturing, and how much of it is legitimately, genuinely Frank Walker?
I think it's changed over time. More so to being more and more for me, and then hopefully finding fans that like what I want to do. I'm saying like I'm getting more comfortable in the sense that like I just love what I'm making, and hopefully stuff like streams really well and does well. Like that means like my label Sony is having a good time and I'm having a good time. But like if stuff didn't do really well, I'm still loving what I'm putting out, and it's stuff I love playing live. And I think as I'm getting like growing as an artist, that's something that I've become more comfortable with. And it's like, hey, it's like I need to do this for myself, and I think that translates, and fans see that, and you want that authenticity there, not just be like, oh, I'm trying to chase a hit. And my manager will send me like amazing vocals. Like, oh, he's got like this hit in, like this vocal's so good, and it's like kind of an interpolation or like a cover or like something cheesy about it. I'm like, it's like I don't disagree with you. Like I know if someone put this out, it would do really, really well, but like it just doesn't feel like me. And I think I'm getting more comfortable saying that as I grow. Which
I think is super important, because a lot of artists tend to sway into just trying to follow whatever will get them the next hit.
Yeah. And like I totally was like that when I was younger. Like you don't really have like, you're building that identity as an artist and you don't know what it is yet, because like you don't really know what you want to be until you've experienced a few different kind of genres. Like I've definitely hopped around. Like when I was like first starting out, the Chainsmokers were huge. I definitely have a couple tracks that sound like worse versions of like, I don't know, Closer, and then like, I don't know, you collab with different artists, you take up different tricks. But I think as you grow, like you need to experience those different bits to kind of get where you want to be. And not saying people haven't just like hit it out of the park the first time. There's definitely some artists that are like amazing and just be like, hey, I have the sound in my head, this is what I want to be. But for me, it was kind of experiencing a bunch of different genres and pulling little bits and pieces. Like I tour with Kygo so much, there's like definitely a bit of tropical house in there. Like I said, going back to that like Avicii, Alesso inspiration of stuff that got me into dance music, like that kind of vibe is there. Like I love Coldplay, like I love what they do, like their chord progressions and lyrics. Like there's a bit of that in my sound. So I'm more of like a smattering of a bunch of different things I like that hopefully other people like as well, you know?
Yeah. So I mean, it sounds like, you know, for if there's a newer artist listening to this, watching this, that if they're going through that identity crisis of what am I, who am I, what kind of music do I create, that's part of the process. It's not like the moment for you to go, I'm not built for this.
Yeah, I still think I'm still trying to figure it out, to be honest. Like I kind of have a good idea now compared to where I was years ago, but it's like I'm thinking like, where do I want to keep growing to, and what do I want to be, and what I want to be known for. And I don't know, it's like you don't need to have a sound. Like I remember when I first met when I first signed with my agency WME years ago, my manager brought me to meet Pete Tong, who's like a legendary radio host, but also is an agent at WME. And he's like, oh, what's your sound? It's like, and he's like, yeah, Kygo has his thing, and Miles, my manager, is like, oh, like he's a bunch of really good vocals, like kind of like what a bunch of these other artists are doing. He's like, no, you need a sound. And like, I don't know if I necessarily agree with him, even though he's Pete Tong. Like, I built this palette of sounds, and I definitely have a sound now, but it's more just finding people who are like aligned with what you want to stand for as a brand. And I think that emotional connection's there. It doesn't need to be like, oh, I have like a signature like synth or a signature kick drum. It's like building that like fan base of like-minded people, and that's kind of what my sound is becoming.
So it sounds like all of this is just a journey and a process towards being more authentic to who Frank is.
Yeah.
Frank Walker the person, not Frank Walker the persona.
Yeah. And I kind of skipped over the part you asked, like how a new artist would link into like that mentality or like how they tap into that. And I think it's so hard with TikTok now, because like the stuff that is trendy, and you see so many people just taking a vocal people already know and slapping it over like a generic beat and like putting like a little stutter effect on it, and that does well on TikTok, but it feels so inauthentic, and it's the exact same thing. It's like a race to the bottom of who can find the next trendy sample, and it's easy to get caught up in that if you like are starting out and you have like something that goes a slight bit viral. It's like, oh, I need to do this, but I feel like trying to find your own sound and I don't know, take a step out of that box is super, super important.
Do you find it's funny and interesting that you bring up TikTok? We've had on a couple of artists talk about the TikTok effect, how it is very much a chase for the next trendy sound. And we had one artist talk about how, you know, there are people in the industry that will make music for TikTok in mind, and if it does well on TikTok, then they get greenlit to continue, and if it doesn't do well on TikTok, you sort of trash that project and move on to the next.
Yeah, and it's tough. I think that's what the labels want. Like, it's like the most effective way of marketing. It's like, oh, if you have like something that goes viral, you get a lot of pre-saves, and that like makes your project successful. And I'm lucky enough that I think like my label with Sony up here in Canada and Palm Tree Records worldwide, which is another part of Sony, but they're super behind me in the sense that I'm like they see the vision of what I want to do. I'm like, hey, like this is like the sound I want to go for. Like lyrically, this is what I like. I want to get more, I don't know, like kind of like that emotional lyric in my song. And it's not something that will like do amazing on TikTok because it's like maybe too sad, or it's like the hook's like longer than it needs to be for a quick little sound bite. There's not like that quirky little sound that people are going to make a video to. But I think like what's been working really well for me is like literally just talking about what I like. I'm like, hey, like I like this sound. Like I don't like what's going on right now. Like if you feel the same way, like join along with me. And like I've been super, super lucky that I've had some things go viral for me not even showing off my music, just talking about what I like, and it's kind of people have gravitated to that. But I think it's hard not to be in that race to the bottom and just find like the next like TikTok sound to go viral, and then you're stuck in that hole of being the TikTok person, you know?
That race to the bottom that you've now mentioned twice.
Yeah.
What's the outcome of that? What happens if that is the pathway where more and more artists are moving in that direction, where there's just too many of them going there and not enough people like yourself and others who are like, this is not what it's about?
I don't know exactly what the outcome is. I think it's hard to have staying power, though. If you become viral for this, like, it's so hard to be like, I made this sound just because it's like a trendy sound, and to pivot into something else as an artist, I think is hard to do. Like, that's why I haven't been doing it. I don't know exactly what the outcome is, but I think it kind of like dilutes the creativity that's out there. Like, there's so many amazing producers in the dance music space. And for me, when they're all trying to make a stutter house track or like sample R&B track and like make it the next one that like you have, I don't know, like it's like, oh, like my track got supported by a big artist because it's going viral on TikTok. I feel like it doesn't, like, I feel like as a dance music community, we can do more than that. And like, there's so many amazing producers that can make cool synth sounds. And I feel like we should be exploring that creativity, not just trying to like make the 10,000th stutter house track to try to be the next one that goes viral.
Yeah. Are you seeing good feedback from your community of fans and listeners?
Yeah.
Like for being authentic and not going that route?
Yeah, and there's other ones that like, I don't like, I play tech house, but like, it's not my favorite thing. And like, I literally said in some TikTok recently, like, oh, like I don't love tech house. And everyone's like, your music sucks. There's also people that like, that don't like what I'm doing. But like, my mentality is they're never probably going to be a fan of mine anyways. So I'd rather, like, if people are going to not like me along with the people that I want to attract, like that are part of the community I want to build, like I'm totally fine not having fans that weren't going to be fans of mine anyways along the way. So, but yeah, there's been a lot of good feedback. Like we just put out my song Missing You. I think like it's been like, we did a long promo run for it because I wanted it to do well. I feel like it came out like 2 weeks, maybe a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, but like the feedback's been great. But that being said, like tracks get finished months before. We've been filming promo for a while. My brain gets all like, timelines get messed up. Feedback's been great. Like people love that like kind of emotional lyric, tying back into that kind of main stage festival EDM vibe. And those are the people I ultimately really care about. The people that are like-minded with me and like what I'm doing and want to come see my shows and I don't know, kind of grow that. I keep playing golden era of EDM, bring it back a little bit. For me, that's like not for everyone. That's totally fine. Like like 2014, 2013, 2015 dance music is like the pinnacle of like what I love.
How far away are we from that?
I don't know. Depends on how well I do. I don't know. There's definitely some other artists. Like I tour with an artist named Audion a lot who is kind of stuck to that sound. There's a bunch of European guys that like have kind of stuck to it. Like Martin Garrix has always kind of done it. It's always kind of been there, but like the main genre on a lot of like dance music stages is more like tech house, minimal techno stuff right now. So, but for me, it's like those euphoric feelings you get of being on a main stage, seeing like an Avicii song being played or one of those like throwback songs. Like it's just such a cool feeling when you have people singing along, not just like kind of grooving out to something that doesn't have lyrics.
So that euphoric, incredible feeling that you get when you're on stage and your fans are singing along with you and they're vibing with you and everything, and then you're off stage and you go home, that come down, what's that like? How do you...
I'm pretty like introverted, I think, as a person, oddly enough, for the career I chose. And me and Sam Veld, who's a Dutch DJ who's signed to the same management team as me, we were talking about this one time. It's like, I'm really introverted too. And I think it's like, when you're getting started out as a DJ, a lot of us do it because like maybe we're like nerdy technical people and we like making music and it's like, oh, I want to go like be social, but I don't want to have to talk to people. So I'm at a party and I'm like, I can have my head down and mixing and people are like, oh, that guy's making really cool music. Like we like him, but you don't need to actually be like the social like extroverted person. So I don't know. It's amazing to play a big festival stage and like kind of have that feeling of like everyone being in that same kind of wavelength as you and having a lot of fun. And then obviously it's fun to stick around and have some fun, but going home doesn't feel like it's a come down to me. Like it's nice to go back and relax, and me and my girlfriend Chanel get to hang out and like catch up, and I feel like that kind of balance is really, really important for me.
How do you balance that? Like a music career, a relationship, being an entrepreneur, whatever other hobbies you have.
75. These 2 workouts.
2 workouts a day and no carbs.
No, it definitely is hard to balance. The hardest part is no carbs. No, but it's so important. Like I feel like so many people get caught up in kind of chasing after like, I don't know, it's like I need to be playing this number of shows and like the best festivals, and it's super important, but for me it's like I had a talk with my agent at the beginning of the year. It's like, I love touring, but it's like, hey, if I have 4 weekends off, and I need like a weekend off and like to go back home and reset. And from like every perspective, to like spend time with my girlfriend, like see my family, like my grandparents are getting older. It's super important to like see my grandparents, like, and not just like tour the next 5 years. And like when they're so old, they can't do anything, not be able, then I spend time with them, like balancing out fitness, like taking a step back and looking at my album and music and being like, hey, like I'm not just pumping up music to like the sake of hitting deadlines while I'm on the road. Like there's so many aspects of it I think that are important to balance, and take that weekend off and just like have a reset. And as much as like if you have 5 days off between shows, it's like, I don't know, it's like you can get your sleep back, but I don't think it's a full mental reset when you don't get to take a step back and be like, hey, like I'm taking a weekend to do stuff with my friends and my family and do nothing, like sit at home for a Saturday. And my girlfriend's amazing at that too, because obviously like she gets me on time off. She's like, oh, let's go on a date night, and I'm like, I just need to like do nothing. My life is so scheduled and regimented when I'm on the road. Like I just want to sit on the couch and watch like shitty reality TV, like put on Bravo and like be mindless. And like she's like, hey, I'm like, she's super supportive that way.
Do you find people don't understand that part about being a successful DJ? Is that they see the parties, they see the shows, they see the fame, the fortune, they see all of these things, and then what they don't really see is, you know, the moments where you're just like, I'm mentally exhausted, I'm physically tired.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. It's like, it's hard for people to be vulnerable and show it off. And like, I'm trying to get more honest with myself, and like, I'm totally like down to talk about it anytime with anyone, like any artist is like asking questions about the way it's coming up. Like, I think it's important to have those conversations and be like, you need to take care of yourself mentally or you're going to get burnt out. You obviously have like some anomalies, like Steve Aoki, who plays like 250 shows a year and like somehow having done it for 20 years, like has way more energy than I think I've ever had in my life. Like, I don't know when Steve like passes away, they need to dissect his body and see what about him is different, because like he's just a machine. But like that's not for everyone, and like, you need to be able to like,
and that's okay.
Yeah, and you need to understand what's for you. And like in any industry, I think outside of music, like I don't know, like I have friends who are lawyers and in finance, and everyone's like just like such a grind. Like people, it's like, yeah, I just worked like 80 hours this week, and like we're supposed to hang on a Saturday, but I'm still trying to close a deal. Like I need to stay in the office, and like if that's for you, like some people it works for, but I think it's like so important to like make sure you're taking care of the mental side and figure out what balances out like the thrill of going after your dreams and chasing that kind of business side for you.
Is there so Loud Luxury, we talked about them briefly. They were on and their episode dropped last week. But they talked about how they find balancing their mental health and balancing their time for themselves versus, you know, like when a big gig shows up, like trying to figure out, do I take it for the money? Do I take the time off because I know I need it? How do you wrestle with that sort of conundrum?
Yeah, it's tough. And I think that kind of goes back to what me and my agent were talking about. I'm like, if we're supposed to have a weekend off and a festival pops up, like, yes, I'll take it if it's the right festival. But then it's like, maybe, okay, we don't do like that. I don't know, take the weird run of shows next weekend where it's like, like I've had it before, like last summer where my girlfriend, she's like, you're exhausted. It's like, yeah, because I'd be like Miami during the day, Vegas at night. And I'm like over in New York and San Francisco. It's like, they're all amazing shows, but you're like zigzagging back and forth on flights and like barely getting sleep in more than like a 3-hour block, and you're sleeping on planes. And I don't know, like some people, like I said, have the energy for it, but I think if you do those like crazy weekends, you need to take a next weekend to be like, hey, like I'm going to take a moment for myself. And it's hard because you have like these people in the industry, like my agent, like she hustles and she's amazing. Annie, shout out Annie. But she's like, I don't know, she like, you see these people working hard for you on the management side, the agency side, like fans want you there, and like it's hard to
turn that away.
Yeah, but I don't think you're letting people down. Like I think like you're better serving them in the long run if you take that mental step back and it's like, hey, like I'm going to reset so I can do this longer and like make my best music and put on my best sets, not just be, I've been there before. Like last year we had, I think like 7 months straight with 2 weekends off for me the whole time through. And like by the end, you're just like, my agent's like, are you okay? Like you look tired. I'm like, I want a weekend off. And I think now we're having those honest conversations where it's like, hey, like I would prefer the next 6 months of every 4 weeks or 3 weeks of shows. Like I need a weekend off just to reset and get home and work on music and stay productive and stay happy and healthy and keep wanting to do what I want to do.
Would you recommend that for a new artist? Someone who's just grinding their teeth trying to get themselves out there? Yeah,
I think so. Like if they have the energy, go for it. I'm at 32. Like I definitely don't have the energy I did when I was like 23. Like when you can go and like, I don't know, play 3 shows 3 nights in a row and be partying with your friends and then wake up next day and keep going.
Keep going, yeah.
Part 75, no alcohol is amazing right now. It's like I feel like I'm waking up, I'm like, ooh, this is great. Like, I don't know, I'm at that age where stuff's hitting me different than it used to. It's like the least rock star mentality possible. Like getting back to me and Audie and that artist I was talking about, we're at a show backstage in San Francisco. It was like us two and 2 other artists who were younger artists on this lineup that haven't been touring as much. And like there's 4 green rooms in a row and we're like sitting in our shared green room, like having tea, eating veggie sticks and working on our sets. And down the hall, you people, it's like, woo, like let's do shots. And we're like, thank God we've like, it's like it become less rock star over time, which I like. I don't know. It's
honestly, like, I love that lifestyle. The tea, I'm a big tea guy. I could live with that.
And that lets me save that energy for like when I'm back home to like party with my friends and see my friends and like have that energy opposed to like, I don't know, like kind of wasting my social battery when I'm on the road. Just like, and like I'll like save that energy for like when I'm playing my set to like give it back to the crowd and like have energy up on stage, not be like, oh, I'm hungover. Like,
exactly. And having the energy
shot to get back into the mode to play. And then you definitely see that come across. So
and having the energy for your family, for your girlfriend, because it's one of those things where, you know, you put so much emphasis and you schedule so many different things in your professional career that sometimes we give our personal relationships what's left over. And that's not always healthy, because ultimately you're not watering those relationships. And if you intentionally say, I'm taking time away from my professional side so I can give my personal life the nourishment that it needs, those relationships blossom.
Yeah, for sure. And being intentional about it too, not just like, oh, I'm taking a weekend off to be home, and not to say it's wrong to have those weekends where it's like I'm like, hey, I need a couch night just to sit there and like lay on the couch together and be mindless. But I think it's important to like, when you're like, hey, this is a weekend off, be like, I don't want to neglect the other side of like me. That's not just the artist. You obviously have all these different buckets you got to put stuff into, and you said you need to nourish those other parts of your life. I like that term.
It's important. I mean, I like whether you're a DJ, whether you're, you know, a senior director, whatever field you're in, if you're not allocating time for your personal, I think it was a former president of Coca-Cola had this like analogy where, you know, you've got like 5 buckets. One of them is work, personal life, family, stuff like that. 5 balls in the air, and the work one is the only rubber one. The rest are glass. And if you drop the rubber one, it just comes right back to you. But the rest, if you drop them, they can shatter, they can break, you can't repair them. And I think, again, it comes back to this idea of constantly trying to nourish your personal relationships, because that's ultimately, if those things go south and fall apart, your professional will suffer.
Yeah, for sure.
Right alongside of it.
You need that support system back home. Like, I don't know, if like you don't have like family you're in touch with, or don't have like a significant other, or don't have friends, or don't have like a hobby, like your work definitely will suffer. You need those other experiences in your life to layer into what you do. At least for me, like I feel like, I don't know, like if I want to write a song, you need a life experience to inspire it, kind of. And not to say like every song I write is like exactly how I'm feeling that day, because you have other songwriters in the room, and it's kind of like a collective emotional storytelling thing. Like sometimes I have an artist who comes in, it's like, this happened to me today, I want to write about this. I'm like, hey, cool, like if it's gonna make an amazing song, let's write it. But sometimes you sit there, it's like, hey, like what if we write something like this, and these are the chords, and like oh, like that line kind of works, but like it's inspired by this. But if no one had any life experiences, you wouldn't be able to.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's like just writing, I don't know, like you're gonna be a robot. AI music.
Well, you know what, that's a great segue. Let's talk about AI. Are you worried?
Not really. Like maybe, I don't know. But yeah, I think like going back to like, I feel like all the biggest artists you see around the world are people that have like that emotional connection with their fans. And I think people go to their shows because they want to like feel like they're with that person and feel a bond with them. I feel like it's hard for someone to be like emotionally connected to a robot. And like, not to say like it can't have music that'll be on Spotify or Apple Music or Amazon, like all the streaming platforms. Like you could definitely gonna have it out there and maybe people will listen to it. But I feel like you're never gonna have like an AI superstar. Like that being said, you have artists like the Gorillaz, which are an animated band. So I might just shot myself in the foot while saying that, and they're huge and I love what they do. But yeah, you're never gonna be like, oh, like I like that cartoon character is like my idol. It's like, oh, like they do cool stuff and it's a cool project.
So what you're saying is the ability to connect with the artist, with the art itself, is limited.
Yeah, I think so. And maybe you'll have an AI artist that blows up like before people know they're AI, and people are like, oh, I want to be like this person and want to
that would be trippy.
Want to meet them, then it comes out they're AI. Maybe that like would be a way it happens. But like for me, like I want to, like, I don't know, Chris Martin's my favorite singer-songwriter artist. Like if I ever got the chance to work with or meet Coldplay, that'd be like my dream, because I just like love the lyrics he writes, and like seeing him up on stage, like he looks like he's having like just like the time of his life, and it comes across in his performance. And I feel like that's what fans connect with, is that that kind of like emotional connection. And obviously their music's amazing as well. So, but like, I don't know how an AI would do that unless you like build some super next generation robot. Maybe like Elon Musk is gonna work on making an AI artist, but then I'll be worried.
Then you'll be well. Are you worried about programs and software that uses your voice and your music to create other tracks?
Yeah, I think that's where it gets like sticky, because like how do you know who they're using? But definitely like if you have these ones where it's like it's an AI song making a Drake song, it's like Drake definitely like was what that model learned off of. So
right.
Yeah, like I think definitely they need to figure out how the industry handles that, and that's like obviously a subject that's up for a lot of debate.
Who's they in that equation? Who's the one, like who would, is it the record labels? Is it the government? Like who actually decides where AI can and can't go in terms of utilizing your voice, your likeness, and your art? Because I mean, anybody can just create an AI at this point. The tools that are already being developed, I mean, someone who has enough I guess awareness of how to use those tools can go and create something, and then next thing you know, there's a new track on TikTok trending using your sounds, and I don't know how much recourse you have on that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think like the labels definitely could take a position on it. That would probably influence like what else happens. Like if the labels say like, hey, we're not going to do it, then like the government probably doesn't need to step in. But I feel like eventually it'd fall into copyright law potentially.
Right.
But then you like go into that like kind of sticky situation where like say there's a young kid who's like super inspired by like Drake, for example, again, and he like mimics his flow and writes lyrics that like aren't the same lyrics but kind of feel the same way, and like kind of models his career off him. Like, yeah, people might be like, oh, like you're just trying to be Drake, but like he technically hasn't done anything like illegal, as long as he's not stealing like lyrics or like melodies. Like,
yeah.
So like that's like obviously like he's like learning, and like it's not a direct like algorithm that's like taking Drake and twisting it and spitting it out. That's him like learning and adding his own creative twist on it. So I feel like it's like probably a mixture between like obviously labels, government. I think artists obviously need to take like a standpoint on it. And then I don't know, probably all songwriters, publishers, like the whole probably collective people that need to decide what their stance is. Yeah. Maybe like publishers and other people have more monetary interest in is getting more music streamed, right, have a different stance than artists. But
as a creator yourself, I mean, it feels like there might not be much that you can comment on at this exact moment.
Yeah, I don't even know what I would comment. Like, if I had a stance, I'd be like, this is exactly what needs to happen. I probably would be able to say it, but I don't know what that stance is. But like from an artistic integrity perspective, like I'm not as worried about like an AI artist coming in like being the next global superstar. Like I think it's hard to have like, I don't know, like you have like a Shawn Mendes or a Justin Bieber who's like a heartthrob and all these girls are screaming. Like I don't know how, like, I don't know, maybe I'm just feeling like a boomer at this point. Like I don't think I couldn't see that like little kids like going to be like in love with an
Crazy,
AI, but you never know. It's like a Black Mirror episode at that point. Like,
right. Yeah.
Who knows?
And
Weirder things have happened in this world.
Mean, let's go down that rabbit hole with this thought experiment. I have never personally met Justin Bieber. I've just seen him on television and videos and whatnot. For all I know, he's AI. I'm not saying he is, but I'm saying 3, 4, 10 years from now, it could be, and you just don't know. It is a Black Mirror episode.
Yeah, but like when you go to a concert, like I guess like holograms or something, I don't know. It is really weird. Like it depends how advanced it gets.
Yeah, like it can get to a very scary place in the sense of you don't know what you're watching as the consumer.
Yeah.
But I also imagine as a creator, it can be very concerning, you know, as an artist, when you put in the time, the effort, the hours to craft music, to engage with your community and your fans, to get on that flight, to do the 4 shows in 2 nights or 2 days, whatever, and then find out that there's an AI that can literally be in 20 different places in like one night. Yeah. And just constantly going.
Yeah, like making like the theoretically like the perfect set. But that being said, like I think people see mistakes and they realize like, oh, that guy's actually DJing. Like you could like get on the mic and say something funny, or like the sound cuts out. And like, I don't know, it's like those little moments that make it real.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like if we get to the point where AI is like, we're probably not far like indistinguishable from an actual artist, and you have like holograms and stuff up on stage, we might have bigger problems with like from a geopolitical perspective than like me being worried about what if an artist is taking some of my sales away. But I don't know, it's definitely something that like the industry is going to have a bit of like an existential crisis. And it's already such an industry where it's like streaming platforms have taken so much power away from, I don't know, like all that, like just people selling CDs and touring, and like, I don't know, it's definitely an interesting industry to begin with, and hard to wrap your head around like where the income streams come from. Touring is obviously the biggest one, and you see artists like Taylor Swift.
I saw like $1 billion.
Yeah, it's wild. And she's like cutting out like production companies and agencies and like just doing it all in house, and like because she has that star power. But like you have that 1% or like 0.001% of artists who can do that and bring it all in house. It's, I think, getting harder for like a smaller artist to like be like, hey, I want to start. Like you can go like the route of like uploading yourself on like DistroKid or something, and like I'm gonna get my music up on Spotify, but all these playlists are run by like, I don't know, like you need to have like an in with like someone you know there to get your foot in the door to even get on the playlist. So industry is definitely in an interesting spot with streaming platforms having a lot of power.
What's the biggest hurdle that exists in this industry for current creators?
It's a tough one. I think like the TikTok, I think, as annoying as it is, that like you have to play to the algorithm. Like you do have artists that are amazing singers and songwriters are blowing up purely based off like their songs sounding amazing and like and being unique and not trying to chase a trend. So I think that is like a good thing in the one respect. You can like go viral and
gives other people an opportunity who might not have the in or the access or whatnot.
Yeah, so I think that like I'd say pre TikTok and pre like the artists exploding on there, like definitely getting your foot onto like the DSPs or like digital service providers. Like that streaming music was the hardest part. But I think between like a lot more people going indie and TikTok and stuff like that, like it definitely swinging in the balance if you're truly an incredible artist back the other way a little bit. But yeah, I think that like just understanding the industry, like I've been in it for, like I said, 7 or 8 years, and like there's still so many different revenue streams. You have like obviously like your master rights, like your publishing splits, mechanical rights, like there's always like little things you would never think of where there's revenue streams, and without having a team around you that's experienced, like that'd be so hard to
just wrap your head around.
It's like, oh, like if someone's like playing an interpolation of my song in Russia, like what like revenue stream, because you get money when people use your stuff, it's like what revenue stream is that coming through, and like who collects
manages all that?
So you have like publishers, and then like publishers label, depends, like that's what I mean, like if it's like streamed versus like played on TV in a different territory, like it's a different collective agency. Like like I have like a publisher on the administration side who collects like I said, mechanical rights, and like kind of like when people like use it or play it on TV or something. But like I don't have like a publisher who's setting up songwriting sessions. You have ones like there's so many different ways to do it, and it's honestly very confusing. That's probably like the biggest hurdle, is understanding like the revenue side. Yeah. Once you start getting more established, like if you're starting out just like playing like I don't know, nightclubs as a DJ, obviously like
you kind of want your stuff to get anywhere.
A bar owner is going to give you cash. You're like, hey, cool. Like, do I pay tax on it? The answer is yes. But like then when you start to actually get music out there and it starts to spread outside of your bubble, that's when it gets complicated, to the point where like that's like I have like a business degree and I still have to have like a business manager on that side, because like I don't know, like I play a show in Iowa, I got to pay tax in just that state, and then like on top, like you like pay state tax wherever you are. Like it gets really complex when you start touring and having music kind of branch outside of your little bubble.
So I can see why you definitely need to have someone managing all that. I can't imagine with everything you're already doing that you have the ability to sit down and be like, all right, well, how much tax do I owe in this state versus that state versus...
You need like a proper CA to like, come on board and help you.
What's the best part?
For me, like having a really good show. I think playing on a festival stage and playing stuff that like people can sing along to, and like I said, like connecting with fans. Like for me, like it's a bit of an issue where every single show I end up losing my voice, because I keep my speakers on next to me and I'm singing along to everything I'm playing because I like the songs I'm playing and want to sing along. And like it's not like I'm a singer, but one of my tour managers, he's like you need to do vocal warm ups just so you don't lose your voice, because like it happens more often than not where I do like up on the mic, I'm like 3, 2, and I sound like I'm going through puberty. But like having those crowds where people are singing along with you and like enjoying what you're doing, and I don't know, people are like, oh, like I love your set, like I love the kind of music you play, and it's cool for me because like I love the kind of music I play, and to find like like-minded people, I feel is a really cool thing as a creative.
Nice. Now, when was the moment that you knew this was a thing?
I think it first like really got validated when it was probably like 2018. I put a song out called Heartbreak Back, which is like the first time I was in the studio, like not just taking demo vocals pitched to me. It was like the first time we had been in the studio, like wrote a song with the singer, like finished it, got it out, put it out. And like it started at radio in Canada. It was like my first gold record up here. It hit like top 10 on Canadian radio. And I'm like, hey, like this isn't just me like liking what I do and playing some cool shows. This is like like something
There's
outside
traction.
outside of my control. Like I can like if like I came in a room, I can like play a really good set, and like I don't know, it's like you kind of like then maybe there's like a few hundred people there. It's like, hey, cool, that was like a cool like experience. But like seeing like a country as a whole, like Canada, be like, hey, like this record's good enough to go gold, was kind of like, okay, like maybe it's like
big deal.
something I'm actually good at.
Yeah.
And I still feel like I get like a bit of imposter syndrome sometimes, where it's like oh like maybe it's not good enough, and like it's just like because we're in Canada and like my song's CanCon, it's doing well, but then like you gotta take a step back. It's like not many people do what like I don't know get to that level, and like I still feel like sometimes it's like oh why am I like how did I get here? It's like
I'm curious. You talk about imposter syndrome. I struggle with that sometimes too. I'm wondering how you overcome that. I like personally speaking, there are moments where I'm like, is anybody even watching this?
Yeah.
And it just like randomly creeps into my mind, and then it's a thought that festers, and it's kind of like what you said, taking that step back and thinking, okay, you know, you're producing a podcast, there are people that are listening, it's on board Air Canada, all these great things, and then you're like, okay, this was just my mind for a moment. But how do you deal with that?
I definitely like, as far as DJ sets, I think that's like the hardest one, because like you're in the moment and like you can't like tweak something. I definitely like over prep, like, and get anxiety about going back to shows, and like from multiple perspectives, it's like, okay, like how is are the tickets selling well? Like, are there going to be people there? Which is like obviously a really
Start
big
thinking
one,
about things outside your control.
Yeah, because then like you get in that room and like it like as I get bigger, like it doesn't happen as much or ever, thankfully. But like you get in there, it's like you have to still put on a good show. But if you're in a room that's like 20% sold out when you're starting and like a new city and no one knows you, it's like it's so hard to give like a good hour and a half, 2 hour performance and have high energy when like the room seems kind of dead. You get in the mic, it's like, how are we feeling? And it's like good, like one person there. It's like, so that's like as I'm growing, that's getting better. And like we built like a marketing team out that like helps with ticket support for markets that we're going to do for the first time, and getting better ideas with ticket counts if a promoter needs like me to give a shout out video, a couple extra ones just to make sure that's good, because that's a bit more out of my control. On the other side, like I'll play, like if I'm playing 3 nights in a row, like I'll have a set that works so well one night, and like my tour manager, everyone's like, that was amazing, like it's such good feedback. And the next day I'm like, okay, I need to like keep switching things around and keep prepping and keep tweaking my edits for my set, and like to have different music to play, even though like there's no one that saw me in Miami the day before it's going to see me the next day in Vegas. But I'm still in my head, I'm like, I need to keep preparing. And I think I'm trying to do a better job at taking that step back and be like, hey, like catch your breath, like enjoy it for a second, like get an extra hour of sleep, don't stress yourself out. But I think in my mind, like I'm such a perfectionist, I want that, like I don't know, I get like anxious about, it's like what if that one little transition was a little bit different, and like it's like for something that I don't know, like it is so inconsequential in the grand scheme of things, but like I don't know, I feel like it's a bias that people have, like you'd rather focus on that one tiny thing that went wrong in your head than like all the stuff that went right. So
well, that's the perfectionist part coming through.
Yeah, then like I think it ties in like that kind of imposter syndrome at the same time. I think the perfectionism kind of like because stuff's not perfect, I'm like, how did I like? And nothing is
people
ever
are
perfect.
People are gonna see through
like,
this. They're gonna know. Yeah.
It's not math. It's like the arts. So it's like nothing's ever gonna be perfect in the eyes of like you, the creator. But then it's like taking that step back and being like, okay, like does it really matter? Like let's like enjoy. Have gratitude for the good things that are going on, and not dial in on the little tiny things that are out of your control and no one else notice. And it's like live in that moment and enjoy it. Enjoy what I do. What I do is awesome. It's so much fun. I get to fly around playing music and throwing parties for people. So I should enjoy it.
Living the dream.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the dream you started with.
I need to take a step back and remember that. Like I'm trying to do a better job. And I think that also comes with like we said, taking those weekends off to like have that gratitude and be like, hey, like I'm super grateful what happened, and not just be stuck in the moment of like, hey, I have another tour, like head down, it's like grinding through it. Like you take that time to be like, well, it's actually like now that I have a second to take a breath, it's actually pretty amazing what I get to do.
Yeah, there's a little thought experiment you can do. I don't know if experiment's the right word, but where if you were to take your current life as it is and share that with younger you 5-10 years ago, would this be the life that younger you wanted? And if the answer is yes to that, then, you know, it's a reminder of like you've achieved so much in that time frame, that this is the life that you were working towards. You're achieving the very thing that you were working towards.
Yeah, I definitely would like be like, well, that's pretty insane. Like, I think it's like, yeah, and like I definitely am realizing that. Like I've now have like I think 5 gold records in Canada, which I never would have thought.
Congratulations.
Like, yeah, like even like I don't know, one with Loud Luxury we did together. Like one actually with Tyler Shaw. Like I wrote a song with him years ago and produced it. I know you've had him on your show.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like one of those things where it's like that's just like the milestone looking back like, I don't know, say go back 7 years and look forward. That's insane. But I think it's also important to stay like a little hungry. Like there's definitely still things I want to do. And like one of them is getting this album done. Like, I don't know, like
when's that supposed to come out?
Hopefully end of March, maybe April. Okay. I don't know, stuff keeps getting pushed back. Touring was supposed to be time off. I'm once again touring a bit more. We had these really good shows coming up.
Oh yeah, you're doing Veld?
Yeah, we have Veld that just got announced today. Yeah. I don't know when this is airing, but in real time it got announced today. Yeah. Playing like a couple weeks with Diplo at the Sports Illustrated NHL,
which is really cool.
Yeah, I think we're talking about like getting a Vegas residency this year, so hopefully that comes to fruition. I played a bunch there with Kygo, but like trying to get like some.
Is there a benefit to being like getting a residency and sticking to one space? I mean, if you're gonna do it in anywhere, Vegas would be the place. But is there a benefit to doing that versus sort of continuously touring?
Yeah, I mean, like it's good because like the production in Vegas is just insane. You have like big crowds. Like it's good to like kind of marry yourself to a club because then they like you kind of start co-promoting and they put their assets behind you to like grow you as an artist.
Right.
And in Vegas, like unless you're with one of the clubs, you're not really getting into any of the clubs. Like you kind of like because they're so competitive. Like you can't be like, oh, I'm gonna bounce around between like Wynn and Caesars. Like you need to be like, hey, like this is the one I'm with for the year.
And that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, and like it's been amazing being with Kygo, but like at some point, like I can only do so many Kygo openers because like it's fine the same management team. But like I want to like I don't know, I need to like put my own show on, not just be a part of someone else's show and like keep growing as an artist. There.
You've earned it.
Thank you. Yeah, but like it's important to keep growing. Like I love touring. I want to keep touring. Put this album out, like I said, like hopefully get it done soon. But like I'm also like that perfectionist, so it's like I probably could put it out sooner if I wanted to, but like I want to like add like a little intro, outro, like interlude moments, and like not just be a collection of really good tracks, but tracks like saying you like edit the end of ones that kind of flows and blends in. It's more of like a journey and an experience, opposed to just being like, hey, here's a collection of singles that are like good songs.
Amazing. Frank, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming through.
Anytime. I'm down to come back.
I'd love to have you back. Yeah.
I live about a 12-minute drive away, so it's easy for me.
Yeah, no, I'd love to do a part 2. Like once you're done with these shows, once you got the album out, all these things. I love the journey, man. I love the authenticity. I like how you talked about working through, like you've got your public persona, but how there's intentionality behind protecting your private self to make sure that version of you is well nourished and balanced and healthy, to ensure that you can continue to be the version that people expect of you, know of you, but also making sure that you are the version you expect of yourself.
And I'm not saying it was like that from like day one. Like there's definitely been years where it's like I've toured a ton and I feel run down. It's like, and then like you have other shows coming up where it's like you feel exhausted. It's like I gotta do it again next weekend. Like, it's not like it happens overnight, but like as I'm growing as an artist, you're like you learn to start balancing these things, and like that makes you more productive in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. No, this is great. Thank you so much for coming through. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Good luck with 75 hard.
Well, I'll see. I might have some carbs at some point, but I don't know. I need like that same thing. It's balance. It's like it's like if I can. Some people are like my photographer Kyle did it like a couple of years ago, and he got halfway and ended up breaking his big toe and couldn't work out anymore. But he's like if you miss a day, you got to restart. And I'm like, I don't think it's about saying like I did everything perfectly, but it's like, hey, I'm like I didn't.
Did you give it your best?
Yeah, and it's like hey, like if I work out twice a day, I'm probably gonna be sick tomorrow and then like not be able to work out at all. It's like anything. It's like music industry, hard 75. They're the exact same. Just got to balance it out.
Amazing. There's the analogy for this episode. 75 hard in the music industry. They're the same. Frank, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody.